The Dr. John D. Invitation. Once you have seen this video, and if you think A, it is fake, was faked, edited, photoshopped, etc., the conclusions are wrong, incorrect, or you're confused, Dr. John and team don't understand what is happening, or the observation wasn't performed accurately enough, then I cordially invite you to initiate the following. You or a representative and a colleague or friend will record the observation being carried out. Everyone will be invited to watch and record as well. The observation is simple. Can a laser 1 meter or less above tide level be observed 15.3 kilometers or 9.5 miles away by a camera 1 meter or less above tide level? If the observation took place on a globe, what shouldn't be seen? According to the metabunk.org calculator, an observer 1 meter above tide level at one location should not be able to observe the intense source of the laser positioned 1 meter above the tide level at the other location, at a distance of 15.3 kilometers or 9.5 miles away. An observer 1 meter above tide level would not be able to observe a laser positioned 1 meter above tide level and 15.3 kilometers or 9.5 miles away, since the laser would be within the hidden 10.8 meters height caused by the curvature. Why this observation? This observation requires only people and lights. A camera is only necessary to record the observation. This observation is simple and can be checked to determine if it's repeatable and reproducible. This observation can be done by anyone, and no complicated mathematics are required. It is a fundamental observation in the sense that it directly determines whether curvature is present or not. A fully working non-curvature model that can be used to accurately predict the path of the luminaries, etc., is not necessary to prove the presence or absence of curvature. Only a simple observation like this is needed. Done under the appropriate conditions, it's a no-nonsense observation, and there is no debate about the conclusions unless one chooses to deny the reality of the results and pretend they don't exist. A legal contract will be drawn up and signed by you and me. It will include the following. A. You will pay for an independent film crew selected by mutual agreement to be present at both Worthing and Brighton. B. The film crew at Worthing and Brighton will record and live stream the observation. You and I will both receive a copy of all the recorded footage and are free to do with it what we want. C. If all conditions are met that satisfy the criteria to deem the observation as being valid, see the relevant slide following, and the intense source of the lasers positioned at Worthing or Brighton, a maximum of 1 meter above tide level, can be photographed and videoed by the zoom cameras positioned at Worthing or Brighton at a maximum of 1 meter above tide level, then the contract will state that you and I agree that the 15.3 kilometers or 9.5 mile stretch of sea between Worthing and Brighton does not exhibit the curvature that would be present if we lived on the globe with a circumference of approximately 24,901 miles or 40,075 kilometers, or similar sized oblate spheroid or ellipsoid in which water follows the geopotential surface of the globe, or oblate spheroid, ellipsoid. D. You will be recorded by the film crew reading out the above statement, which will be live streamed and then released on YouTube and other social media platforms. The appropriate permission for this will be part of the contract. D. If all conditions are met that satisfy the criteria to deem the observation as being valid, see the next slide, and the intense source of a laser positioned at Worthing or Brighton, a maximum of 1 meter above tide level, cannot be photographed and videoed by the zoom cameras positioned at Worthing or Brighton, a maximum of 1 meter above tide level, then the contract will state that you and I agree that the 15.3 kilometers or 9.5 mile stretch of sea between Worthing and Brighton does exhibit the curvature that indicates that we live on the globe with a circumference of approximately 24,901 miles or 40,075 kilometers, or similar sized oblate spheroid or ellipsoid in which the water follows the geopotential surface of the globe, or oblate spheroid ellipsoid. E. I will be recorded by the film crew reading out the above statement, which will be live streamed and then released on YouTube and other social media platforms. The appropriate permission for this will be part of the contract. F. I will transfer an amount of money equal to the cost of the film crew and solicitor services into a holding bank account as designated by the solicitor. If the intent source of a laser, positioned at Worthing or Brighton a maximum of 1 meter above tide level, cannot be photographed and videoed by the zoom cameras positioned at Worthing or Brighton a maximum of 1 meter above tide level, then the money in the holding bank account will be transferred into your bank account. So what constitutes a valid observation? The observation will only be considered valid if the following conditions are met. A. Both the lights of Brighton and Worthing seafronts can be clearly observed and recorded through a P900 or similar zoom camera situated 1 meter above tide level at the opposite location. B. No visible refraction is occurring as indicated by the lack of an inferior or superior mirage observable on Worthing and Brighton seafront, which will be verified by photographs and video taken by a P900 or similar zoom camera situated 1 meter above tide level at the opposite location. C. The temperature difference between the sea temperature at tide level and the air temperature 2 meters above tide level is no greater than 1 degree Celsius at both Worthing and Brighton. The temperature will be taken by a traditional laboratory thermometer with a 0.5 degree Celsius unit scale. D. The observation is carried out at a tide level at Worthing and Brighton no higher than 70 centimeters above the lowest astronomical tide, or LAT. Why am I doing this? Because I know that the source of a laser, 1 meter above tide level, can be observed by a zoom camera positioned 1 meter above tide level, a distance of 15.3 kilometers or 9.5 miles away, since we have done this so many times, even in dense fog. This gives anyone the chance to personally challenge this observation and attempt to prove it and/or its conclusions incorrect. And because anyone who truly believes or thinks they know that they live on a globe will accept this invitation, as it gives them the opportunity to debunk the non-curvature model on a fundamental level and in a completely open, transparent, and public format, and which will be paid for. Please contact Dr. John if you're interested at the following email address, drjohnd1974@gmail.com.